And some breaking news out of Grand Forks on this late Friday morning. Nicholas Narveson of Grand Forks has just been sentenced to what amounts to 40 years in prison. He was sentenced to 60 years with 20 years suspended, plus 5 years probation, so 40 years in prison. He was convicted of murder, reckless endangerment, and terrorizing in the shooting death of 53-year-old James Jorgenson on July 4th of 2024 at Sledster's Bar in downtown Grand Forks. Earlier this month, Narveson gave this statement to iNewZ. I talked to him via the telephone while he was in the Grand Forks County Jail as to his thoughts on all this. Again, Narveson now sentenced to 40 years in prison. Here's what he had to say about the whole incident.
For the record, and from the heart, I'm going to start off by saying a big part of the state's case is that they claim I willfully or recklessly caused the death of James Jorgenson with extreme indifference to the value of his life, and that I did not do so in self-defense. And I'm going to agree with that statement if the situation had been I walked into the bar with a friend. I was having a great time. I ordered a drink, and then I saw a man reach into his vest, and then I shot him. That would no doubt be reckless and not self-defense. What actually happened that day was a neighbor was waiting for me by my door, and he wouldn't leave me alone as I tried to go home to sleep. This stranger had to convince me to go to that bar that is known for being sketchy. I couldn't find a polite way to keep saying no as he pressed this issue. That man was acting suspicious the entire way. His comments were foreshadowing this entire event. He mentioned that he had a friend in this bar and that he let him know that we were on the way. When we entered the bar, he then told me to stay close to the wall, kid. And when I was put off by that and I refused a drink, he smiled and said, "Oh, there's nothing shady going on here." Then, at that same time, I saw a man exit the bathroom. Then I saw that man reaching into his vest. Then I retreated until I felt cornered, and my back was to the wall. Then I feared for my life. Then I shot first when I believed he was going to pull a pistol out of that vest and shoot me after 13 seconds. In this situation I'm describing to you, I can't run out the door and hope you don't shoot me like the state would want. I can't run up and punch you and hope for the best. I felt my only option at that time was deadly force. I take full responsibility for my actions and my mistake. 2 lives have been lost, and both of our families have been affected by this. And I would like to remind everyone that the main person who facilitated this shooting is not facing charges. His name is, and he admitted on the stand that he could have done and said all of these things that I'm saying he did, but he would never mess with someone's head or put them in that situation. But that's what he did, and that's where he put me. If there is any doubt that he was involved in this shooting, I need to point out that there is no doubt I felt something was wrong before I even saw James Jorgenson. It was comments that made me aware that there was a third party in that bar. It was his comments that were putting me on edge, and it was his comments and actions that made me enter that bar on video. I stopped. I allowed him to go ahead of me as I put my hand in my pocket where my pistol was at. And I checked everyone out as I followed him in, looking for a reaction to see who his friend was. Ultimately, everyone heard me refuse that drink that I walked over there to get. And as I suspected, someone in there planned to rob me or hurt me. Nobody is going to tell you if you are about to get robbed, or shot, or beat up, or if they're simply messing with your head to see what your reaction will be. And nobody is going to admit that that's what they did in a murder trial. Did this. He smiled at me while I was laying on the ground in shock, identifying me as the shooter to the police, a block away from the scene. It's not fair to the Jorgenson family that James was lost to gun violence when he did not have a weapon. And it's not fair to my family that the state expects me to risk my life and find out I was messing with my head, or if James was pretending to have a gun, or if he was grabbing cigarettes for 13 seconds. I truly felt my life was in danger and I was going to get shot. It was 13 seconds of thinking that man had a gun before I made my decision. And I would like to take 13 seconds of silence for everyone to consider that. I don't expect the family to forgive me, but what I'm asking everyone is to consider my circumstances and understand my intent was to save my own life. There should be no doubt I believe James had a pistol, and I acted on that fear. And it was the state's burden to prove that that was not true. But it's on video. A big part of my case is and will continue to be, I would rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. I have been judged by 12. I have been found guilty by 12. But I'm not a murderer. I may have to fight this case for the rest of my life, or even after a prison sentence. This is the most tragic case of self-defense this state may ever see. I believe my lawyer and I confused the jury by saying even though I shot an innocent man, I deserve to be acquitted. The fact of this case is I shot an unarmed man appearing to approach me with a pistol in self-defense because about a third party in the bar waiting for us. Anybody in my situation could have made the same tragic mistake. There are no redos in life, and that's the point I'm trying to make here. I believe the self-defense instructions and the laws were mostly ignored by the jury, specifically the ones regarding mistaken beliefs that state your conduct is excused if you truly believe your life is in danger and you truly thought you could not retreat any further. And I believe this trial's verdict was guided by emotion and not the logic or the law. And I understand why. An unarmed man lost his life, and I could have saved him if I hadn't pulled that trigger. To me, guns are meant to save lives, not take them. Unfortunately, I took a life while believing I was saving my own. The state of North Dakota and the county of Grand Forks would like everyone to believe that they won this trial. But the truth is, there was never going to be any winners, even if I had been acquitted. A man is still dead. My life is still ruined. And someone is still getting away with facilitating murder and ruining 2 lives. I hope everyone understands who that is. I'm not the bad guy in this story. But no bad guy ever believes he's the villain. I would like to end my statement with a few more words and an apology. Killing someone is wrong. And if everyone did this, society could not function. But my circumstances were not normal. I didn't look for this situation. I didn't plan on this situation. Created that situation from beginning to end. From the moment he decided to be right by my door and to the moment he was smiling at me. he did this. What I did was wrong, but I believe a fair and impartial jury would have concluded I did the wrong thing for the right reason, and that is self-defense. I'm sorry to the Jorgenson family who loved him and lost him. I'm sorry to the friends who missed him and knew him. I'm sorry to the witnesses who had to see his last moments and feared for their own lives as I did. I'm sorry to my family for putting them through this. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I hope you share my story with the public so that they know what happened on July 4th, 2024 at 7:16 p.m.